Tell me who your friends are, and I'll tell you who you are. This isn't just a cliche saying, it's actually backed by your psychology. So you've likely noticed a connection between who you surround yourself with and how you end up acting. But have you noticed the connection between the social influences that you have in your life, who it is and what it is that you're exposed to on a regular basis, and its connection to your ability to be a high performer? In this episode, I'm going to be talking about exactly how you need to be aware of what you are exposing yourself to on a regular basis, who it is that you're surrounding yourself with, because it is impacting your ability to show up and show out, to be who it is that you aspire to be or not. It is impacting your potential. Let's get right into it. This is The Self-Led Leader. I'm Dr. Christina Ady, and in this show, we explore how your beliefs about who you are and what you're capable of determine the results that you're getting. Every week, we go beyond your skills and strategy to explore the psychology of how you operate and how it's been limiting you, so you can finally achieve the goals you didn't think you could. Let's get into today's episode. There are ample research studies that show who it is that you spend time with and what it is that you're exposed to on a regular basis completely influences how you think, how you feel, and how you choose to act. Back in graduate school, I had read probably hundreds of articles at this point talking about the relationship between exposure to social influences and its impact on your identity or your self-concept. And the connection is always clear. Who it is that you are surrounding yourself with will always impact how you feel, how you think, and what you think you should be doing versus not doing. Now, this is important because when you are a high achiever, a high performer, someone with big goals, big ambition, and big potential, it's important to understand the connection between your environments and the people and the things that you're exposed to and how it is impacting your own mindset. Because it is a bi-directional relationship. And this is extremely important to understand. Because on the one hand, you need to be able to be driven, to pursue your goals, to have that ambition, to have that inner fire in yourself, to even believe in the first place that you are capable of at least trying to pursue the things that you have set as your goals. However, it's equally important to understand that from the outside coming in, the people that you're surrounded with, the things that you're exposed to, the messages that you're hearing on a regular basis are shaping your perception of whether or not you believe that is possible for you, that that is worth pursuing for you, that that is something that you actually can achieve. Now, I like to break this down into us having three main types of influences. And maybe you've heard me talk about this in a previous episode, but let's go through it one more time. Because again, most people recognize the fact that the people close to them are shaping their mindset, but there's so much more nuance and depth to this that most people are overlooking. So the first is your firsthand experience. These are the actual experiences that you have had yourself, the conversations you have had, the wins, the losses, the failures, the public moments of embarrassment. All of that shapes how your own perception is and what you think you're capable of. The second is secondhand experiences. So these are situations, messages, lessons that you have learned through association. So maybe you've watched a family member, a friend, someone close to you go through an experience and you took away a lesson from that and applied it to yourself. And the third being third-hand experience. Now, this is more general in a sense. This is the environment, the social context, the ethnic or cultural environment that you grew up in. These are the norms that are put upon you as just what it is or just how you're supposed to act that are so deeply ingrained in us over time that we start to just accept them as truth and, natural constraints to what we're capable of. even if different cultural contexts or different environments, different societies have different norms, different rules, and different expectations. But the influence of the one that we were most exposed to still shapes our perception. So when you recognize that there's three main types of influences around you, you can start to see how the micro moments of your everyday are shaping the way that you think about yourself and what you think you're capable of doing. Social media is a fantastic example of this, because how many of us are scrolling on our phone constantly when we need a break, when we want an update, when we are coming up with whatever reason, if it's for work, for pleasure, for keeping up with the world. We're scrolling social media on a regular basis and being exposed to a variety of things. But when you consider something as simple as the algorithm tailoring what you're seeing based on your likes, your preferences, your geographic area, you start to see how everything is really almost like a funnel being narrowed down and shaping what it is that you're experiencing and what you think the reality, the perception of reality is for you. And so going back to this concept of this being bidirectional, you really have to understand that who you are up until this point has been shaped by all of these influences in your life. Your parents, your friends, your relatives, the wins, the losses, the fear to try. All of it has shaped who you are. So when you have these big dreams, big goals, big ambition, part of having that for yourself means developing a sense of resilience. And for me, resilience, I really define this as having the belief in yourself that you are capable of continuing. It's essentially the belief that you can keep going even when things are hard. That's how I personally define resilience. And as someone who's a high achiever, who has these big dreams, big goals, you have to have that inner resilience, because things will get hard. Things invariably, indefinitely, it's a guarantee. In life, things get hard. Unexpected challenges come up. Life will throw you a curveball when you least expect it. And how are you able to handle that? If you're someone who has developed a sense of resilience, if you're able to look on your past experiences, the past situations that you've been in, and think about the times that you have kept going, think about the times that it has been hard, but you persevered, you tried again, you didn't give up. You can start to foster that sense of resilience in yourself. And resilience is something that I'm extremely fascinated with. And let me know if you'd like me to do a separate episode just deep diving into resilience. I'm so fascinated with it that I distinctly remember when I was about 20, 21 in university, and I took an entire course that was just dedicated towards understanding resilience, because it's such a core factor that determines the nature of the bidirectional relationship and whether or not you succeed. So going from the inside out, right? You have to have that sense of purpose, ambition, passion, that sense of resilience to be able to go from the inside out, to be able to, persevere despite your circumstances, to pursue your goals even when they seem challenging or, darn near impossible. But it's also extremely important to understand that there's constantly influences coming from the outside in. The experiences that you've had that instill that sense of doubt or fear or what if it doesn't work. The experiences of others, that maybe you even have a friend who has tried something similar and failed, or it has gone terribly for them, right? So often we're exposed to things from other people and we take it on ourselves and we say like, oh my gosh, if that happened to them, it could happen to me. And on the other hand, so many of us flip into denial and say, well, that could never happen to me. That could never happen to me. And then we're blindsided when it does, if it does, right? And so when you consider all of the things going from the outside in that are influencing you, there's this constant tension, this constant push and pull between the two. And most people don't fully recognize the extent to which this is happening, because it's not just about your own ambition, your own motivation, being able to push you towards the goals that you have, towards, being a high performer. But it's also the constant different sources of influence from the outside in that are shaping you and putting up little obstacles, little roadblocks, little barriers along the way. And this can be really challenging because some are really subtle, for example, scrolling on social media, again, is a fantastic example. If there's something that you'd like to achieve and you're scrolling on social media and accidentally come across someone else doing it, it can feel inspirational, but most often it feels almost like a shot to your ego of like, oh, I'm failing, I'm behind, this person is ahead. Look at how behind I am because they're already doing the thing that I want to do. And there's so many of these little moments where maybe you're hearing about an experience someone else had, right? Maybe you're hearing about a friend who just got engaged and here you are dreaming about finding your perfect partner, right? Like we're constantly being exposed to things that trigger us in subtle ways, but we're not fully recognizing the impact that this has on our mindset and on our emotions. And so many people that I speak with are focusing instead on the actual obvious triggers that we have, most notably through our family and friends. And this can be a really difficult point of contention to understand and to deal with because so many of us, so many of the people I've spoken with, the leaders, clients, friends, have had this experience where we have these ambitious goals, these things that we'd like to achieve and accomplish, and the people closest to us, the people who are supposed to love us and care for us and have our best interests at heart, aren't always supportive and aren't always understanding. And part of that, a large part of that, comes down to their own social conditioning and to their own perceived sort of definition that they already have for you, their preconceived notion of who you are and what you're capable of based on how they have thought about you in the past up until now. And it's such a difficult position to be in when you feel driven, when you feel excited, and you share that maybe with family or friends and they don't reciprocate that enthusiasm. Maybe they shut you down. Maybe they instill doubt in your mind because they have those good intentions and they want to look out for you, but it's not coming across the way that you want it. And this is what I mean when I say there's that constant tension between you being able to generate from the inside out the feeling, the ambition, the resilience, but at the same time having that influence of your family, your friends, what you're watching, who you're exposed to, what you read about, what you accidentally see online. And that's a point of tension that is easy to overlook and easy to miss the signs, because so often this will show up in signs that are emotional. The lack of motivation, the sudden loss of excitement, the inability to stay consistent. If you're experiencing any of these things, first of all, they're completely normal. But second of all, it's so incredibly important to recognize what is really driving them. Because when you start to notice what are the moments that are triggering you, or what are the precursors to you losing that motivation, that excitement, that passion that you had, when you start to dissect these situations and really get down to the core of it, you'll probably start to notice that there are specific triggers that are leading to this loss in performance for you. That could be conversations with your parents or friends, the disappointment you might feel if your partner doesn't understand what you're doing. It might be feeling a loss of motivation or second guessing your entire trajectory based on something that you saw online because someone else has achieved the level of success that you aspire to, and it can feel demotivating, or it can feel like there's no point when they're already doing it better. And again, this is so normal and so human and what we all face, but it takes a certain level of awareness and recognition of the fact that this is happening on a psychological level on a regular basis to then be able to mitigate it. And so that's why for me, resilience is such an incredibly underrated factor towards your performance and your ambition and your drive, because it's your ability to be in those lows, to be in that negative state, and to still have that spark within yourself to say, I'm still going to try. I'm still going to push through, and I don't need that external validation in order to push through and pursue what it is that I dream of doing. And it takes a certain mindset to be able to do that, because when you fall into the lulls, when you don't feel supported, when it's impacting your performance, and then you're judging yourself and being critical of yourself because you're not as motivated and you're not as consistent and you're not doing the things that you need to do to achieve your goals that you've set for yourself, it's a hard place to be in emotionally and mentally. And so if you find yourself in that place, or the next time you find yourself in that place, because we all fall into it, especially as high achievers, it's so incredibly important to start to recognize what exactly is contributing to it. Because the more that you recognize which of the influences are creating those extra moments of tension, the more intentional you can be with removing them from your life. So maybe that means changing the conversations you're having with specific people, unfollowing specific accounts, or resetting your algorithm, changing where it is that you hang out if the environments that you're in are triggering you or causing negative emotions. We have so much more control over our own state than most of us realize, because most of us have never really been taught to fully own and acknowledge who we are and how we function. But when you understand exactly how you operate and what is a driver for you, it becomes so much easier to optimize your own performance. So sit with that for this week. Let me know if you'd like me to go deeper into any of the concepts I've talked about today, and I will talk to you in the next episode. Bye.